today. As you know, we're going to hear from a bunch of students, which is super exciting. I've been talking to a lot of students over the past few months and a lot of school leaders, thinking about the best ways to support everybody during this time. And so we thought that now would be a great time to hear from some youth about what's actually going on. So we're going to start in a few minutes. I just wanted to first let everybody know that we did just start our membership drive for the next year. And so if you have liked what we've been doing, please join us as a member. We would really appreciate it. We have a lot of great schools across the country and a really great network for independent charters to work with each other, share the best practices, especially in this time, it's really important. So we'll be sending out an email after this with a link to sign up. So I just wanted to start by thanking Haskell for sponsoring this. I'm going to turn it over to Charlie to talk a little bit more. Here you go, Charlie.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charlie Rochlow, and I work with the Haskell Company. We're extremely excited to be sponsoring this event. We're an integrated firm. We deliver charter school facilities. It's one of our niches, and it's what we're passionate about. We have all our own architects, engineers, and builders in-house. And picture behind me is of a recent school we did called Burns Science and Technology. It's been an interesting 8 weeks for us, as I'm sure for you all. I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, and we've been learning how to communicate. A quick little story before we have a little video to show you, just as an example of how communication can go awry. I came out of my office, as the kids call it, the spare bedroom, and there was dishes in the sink piled up. And I said to my 10-year-old son who was doing work on his iPad, I said, "Could you please put the dishes where they belong?" And he's like, "Sure, Dad." And then so a couple hours later, I came back out and I looked, and the dishes were still in the sink. And I said, "Calvin, what happened to the dishes?" He goes, "I put them away." So I looked back and I looked at the dishwasher, opened up the dishwasher, and sure enough, he put all the dirty dishes away. And so just goes to show you how communication go awry, even when you're in the same room. So I have a lot of respect for everyone involved in this, trying to teach from home, and eager to listen to your all's conversation today. With that, I'm just going to turn it over to Edward to play a little video that we've put together. And if there's any Q&A afterwards, we'd be glad to have it. Thank you again for the opportunity.
I believe that there will always be a need for charter schools, because I believe parents will always want a big array of school choices, whether it's charter or private or whatever, to choose for their children. I believe that having a new school in the northwest quadrant of Jacksonville was the primary reason Tigers started with the success that we did. When we did our work coming in, we knew that in the traditional schools surrounding us, there had not been a new school in more than 50 years, and there was no other choice for us but Haskell because of the ability to do it all, to deal with one company doing everything from including the sale of the property to full construction of the building and complete follow-up. As we have moved on, Haskell has always been with us, and it was a wonderful experience. Haskell people do exactly what they say they're going to do, and it's based on what the client wants, not what Haskell wants. The expertise is incredible. And having an education division, unlike a lot of construction companies, Haskell had a lot of experience in dealing with educational situations and construction pieces. And so it was truly a team effort of here's what we think, what do y'all think, and here's what we've done. And here's what we recommend. And from that point on, it was a seamless. There was never a problem. And if something came up and we had questions, the Haskell team was always there. And it is truly the easiest way, because you're dealing with one large company that has every component that you need in educational construction. So when we need something and we have questions, we call Haskell.
Thank you, Violet and Edward, for letting us be here today with you, and have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you so much, Charlie. Okay, so we're going to get started. I'm just going to give you guys a brief overview of the program. So we're going to start by hearing from students from all across the country from independent charter schools. We're moving roughly from west to east. And then we're going to have a quick presentation from one of our board members, and then we're going to turn it over to our student panelists to facilitate a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions throughout that you want the youth to be asked, you can just put it in the chat box for everyone, or you can send it directly to me or Emma Shea, and we'll make sure that that gets asked. And there will be time for a Q&A. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Emma Shea from New Mexico.
Hi everyone, thank you, Violet. My name is Emma Shea. I'm the student director for CPICS, and I go to Amityville High School in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm currently a junior, and I just wanted to share my thoughts on our current pandemic from a student point of view. Overall, I think we are in uncharted territory. Everybody can agree on that. Learning for us has completely turned upside down. Teachers who have relied on in-person communication and face-to-face learning are having to find new ways to keep the class engaged. Students who needed those interactions to learn are having to keep themselves motivated and get used to a completely different method of learning. I think it's fair to say that everybody is struggling, students and teachers included. But what I've noticed in my school, at least, is teachers are more focused on cramming everything into these last 3 weeks that we have, since we're all at home and we're supposed to have the time for it, right? But as we progress further into this online environment, the more my classmates are starting to speak up and advocate for themselves. We no longer have the support systems that we needed, like our friends, social workers, or teachers. Well, they're there, but instead of that in-person communication, we get a little screen or a little box on a screen. And it's no one's fault, of course, but I think school administrations and teachers need to keep in mind that school is not our main focus right now. We're trying to take care of ourselves, our families, our mental health, all the while trying to graduate high school. And it takes a toll on students, on teachers, and administrators, on everybody. But since we got all of this responsibility just suddenly pushed on us, from my experience, it has become a lot harder to keep up with schoolwork and our lives. And I think a lot of our teachers are starting to notice it, not just in Amityville, but around New Mexico. And hopefully some of you educators have noticed it as well and are trying to accommodate your students. So I just want to ask you all, as a concluding thought from me, to give your students a little bit of room to breathe. We are adjusting the best that we can, and we will get through this together. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Emma Shea. That was great. Now we're going to go to Wyoming, to Poder Academy, and we're going to hear from Andrew Frost. Andrew, go for it.
Hey, I'm Andrew Frost from Poder Academy. I'm a freshman. And after the quarantine hit in, we've been a little different on how we've been teaching, because the teachers don't help as much as they would when we have the face-to-face thing, and it's harder for us to learn as we're just reading what they give us. It has been a little helpful, but it hurts a lot more when we're trying to learn by ourselves than with the help of the teachers.
Thanks, Andrew. That's great. Definitely true. It's very hard to be at home all the time. Next, we're going to stay on the West Coast. We're going to go to California. And if we could start with Pedro from El Sol Academy.
Hello, yes, I am Pedro from El Sol Academy, 7th grade. Distance learning has been quite different. I can say that it is actually a bit nice, and here's my reasons why. Personally, I kind of enjoy distance learning However, the homework can really pile up quickly if you don't dedicate at least a few hours a day. The upside is that we get to make our own schedules. If I feel like I need more time for homework, then I can use more time in my day to do that. If my friends want to play games, then I'll do what I was doing later. You know, we like games, we're kids. Anyways, my experience has been great. Sometimes I find myself enjoying class time, which is a bit odd and weird, but it's a good kind of odd and weird. The one that you're not quite sure why you enjoy, but like nonetheless. I will miss distance learning when it's over. Returning back to the same formulaic routine it will be kind of bumming, to say at least. This is the this is the kind of change in schools I enjoy. It gives us more freedom. It gives students more freedom to choose what they want to study or do with their time. Because while I can't say that you would have needed to know about Egyptians in a factory right now, in these times, students need it less than ever.
Thank you. That was great. We're going to stay in California and we're going to go to Lindsay, who's also at El Sol Academy.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Lindsay, and I'm in 8th grade, and I go to Also Academy. And during this crisis, we now have the need to do distance learning for students to continue with their education. But some of us are struggling, and so are the teachers. And for me, during this time, I've had some difficulties learning because for me, it's not the same teaching as it was physically in school ground. And for me, at the beginning of when all of this started, I was having a hard time communicating with my teachers and, you know, turning the assignments and how it had to be done. And I believe just like me and maybe other students are struggling, I believe that teachers are as well because they are trying to find new ways to make us like understand the lesson. But I believe that they are doing a great job because they're keeping us educated during this pandemic. And things that are not going well for me is knowing that I won't be able to like have my promotion with my friends and family. And also that's something that is going good for me is that my teachers are providing tutoring for those who need it. So that is coming in good for me. And but I believe that this is like something good, like doing social distancing and distance learning because it's like for our safety. So yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Thank you.
And now we're going to go to Lincoln from Venture Academy.
Hey guys, my name is Lincoln Bacall and I'm a senior in high school. So let me just say, I know that like distance learning is really rough because some people are just trying to survive right now. So learning can't really be their priority. And I think that's the most important thing for schools to consider right now. Like, I feel like my school has been handling this pretty well. They're like delivering food and delivering computers to anybody who needs that, which is great. But aside from that, I think that distance learning hasn't been my thing. I really like being in person and really like having mentorship in person, although my mentors at school have been like texting me and checking in with me, which is like amazing. It's been more like personal check-ins than academic check-ins, and I think that I could really benefit from like a teacher who is still talking to me about academics and trying to support me with my classes right now, because I don't know, I'm not the best at like completely self-directed learning. I feel like I need someone being like, yo, this is what you got to do this week, because right now everything I'm doing has no structure until the end of the school year. Because I'm a PSEO student. I probably should have mentioned that. So I take 2 classes at the University of Minnesota and then one at my high school. So the one at my high school is completely self-directed and online, and that is not my favorite thing. But I think that the most important thing that schools take out of this situation is that students aren't going to be okay with school going back to normal, because now that we know that you could basically get a week's worth of stuff done at your house in about 6 hours in one day, like I don't think students are going to be, like now that our academics are not measured by the amount of time that we spend in a seat, students aren't going to be okay with going back to spending 8 hours in a seat every day, transitioning between classes that mostly, you know, fill your brain with information that you might not, it's not relevant, it doesn't feel like passion-based learning. So I think that schools are going to have to become more and more radical as a response to COVID, because they're going to have to make sure that things are engaging, that if I'm going to spend 8 hours in a classroom ever again, or 8 hours in a building ever again, that time really needs to be like, it needs to feel valuable, it needs to feel important. So I think that's the most important thing that I want people to like understand about my COVID experience and distance learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Lincoln. That was great. And I love the idea of passion-based learning. That's a really good way to put it. All right, next we're going to go to Ohio to Arts and College Preparatory Academy, and we're going to start with Paxton.
All right, so like she said, my name is Paxton. I'm in 10th grade, and I go to Arts and College Preparatory Academy. My digital learning experience hasn't really been that bad. I mean, I did have to like switch from one location, like from one parent's house to another parent's house, because my first parent didn't have the internet, and my other did. So for me to be able to do digital learning, I would have to have the internet. But other than that, I mean, it's been pretty chill. I mean, all the work that we have gotten, I mean, sometimes it piles up, but like Pedro said, I think it's just, you can get it done at any time. Like, you can take a break without, having to come back right away. But yeah, I mean, I've gotten all my work done, and, digital learning hasn't really been that bad. It's just, it is going to be an adjustment when we do go back to school, because like I think Lincoln said, when we go back to sitting in the seat, it's not going to be, I don't know, as easy as digital learning was, when we could just, open our computer, get our work done, and then do our own thing in about, I don't know, 6 hours. But yeah, my experience hasn't really been that bad. It's just, yeah, I mean, everything's really been positive about it. I can't really say anything bad. I do miss my friends though. I miss being in like the school environment. I don't really miss doing the work. I just miss being around other people, actually being social and not having to social distance. But other than that, like, I've been chilling, so I mean, it's not that bad.
Thanks, Paxton. That's great. Okay, we're going to stay at the same school, and we're going to go to Jocelyn.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn Aguilar. I'm a junior at the Arts and College Preparatory Academy, and like everyone else, quarantine has impacted my life. And changing from being physically at school and online was a really drastic change for me, because I thrived in a place where I was socially like challenged, I guess, and I liked talking to my peers about school. But yeah, and then it was a really big shift for me, but thankfully I had great teachers there to help me, and that was something I'm really thankful for my school, is that like there's teachers there checking up on us, and like your peers were still talking, like my friends were still talking to me about like the school, and like I had like teachers asking me if I was okay. So that was a really good thing I had, at least from the school, while changing into online learning. But yeah, online learning has taught me a lot about myself as a learner, like ways I study better and like how to motivate myself, which is something I don't think I would have found out that much about until now. But it has taught me how to motivate myself more, and like study skills that work best for me. But I have noticed that I thrive in a school environment and physically being there.
Great. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. Now we're going to go to DC, to Washington Latin Public Charter School. We're going to start by hearing from Zoe.
Hi, my name is Zoe. I'm an 11th grader at Washington Latin, and I think my experience is really like what other students have mentioned. It's definitely taught me a lot about myself, as Jocelyn was saying, where I've had to learn to be able to set my own timelines and be able to figure things out on my own. But that being said, I've also been really grateful for my teachers who have checked in on me, who have made sure that their communication is really on par, and they've been doing a great job with that. So I'm grateful for that. One thing I do miss is I think that the classes that we have, although they do a good job of assigning us things to do and we meet face-to-face on, sorry, not face-to-face, virtually on Zoom about once a week, there definitely is, it's a lot of trouble to actually like learn new content. So I'd say most of what we've been doing is review, because I think that it's just very hard to teach someone an entirely new concept when you're doing it via watching videos or through like an article they're having kids read and annotate. And because of that, I wouldn't say I was able to learn the same amount of new information I would learn if I were in the building. But that being said, I think they've done a good job of making sure that our work isn't busy work where it's just like random problems that might not help us. I think that they really have made sure that our work is actually effective and things that will be able to carry into next year. The one big thing for next year is I think that, and I'm sure schools are prepared for this, I think that schools are definitely going to need to shift curriculums for next year, just because I don't think students are going to be able to learn as much content at the end of the year as they would if they were in normal school. So that means we're going to have to pick back up next year kind of where we left off. And so that's something that I think is really important to keep in mind. The other hardest part for me has been, I definitely missed my like non-classes, that is like the extracurriculars I'm a part of or the sports teams, because with that, there's not really a supplement. Like I have been meeting with, I have a club that it has to do with women empowerment, and we have been meeting weekly via Zoom, but it's not the same thing as being able to be in person and connecting on that level. So definitely I miss working with my extracurricular groups. But other than that, I've been really grateful to my school for the communication and the very clear deadlines they've set for us.
Thank you, Zoe. We're going to stay at your school and we're going to go to Nicholas.
Thank you, Violet. My name is Nicholas Davis. I am an 11th grader at Washington Latin Public Charter School. And I think that distance learning is working well. For example, or specifically the flexibility in terms of work times. For example, if the homework is posted the night before, I can do it the night before and not have to do it the next morning. Or I can sleep in a little and then do my homework after that. Or I can wake up really early and finish all of my homework and have the rest of the day to myself. Some problems that I've found with distance learning are probably the quizzes and the tests and the limited access to my teachers. So for the quizzes and the tests, I'm more accustomed to in-class tests instead of online tests. I think it's an interesting change that I'm starting to get used to, but we're kind of at the end of the school year. And to speak on the limited access to teachers, we can always like email our teachers and we can always attend their tutorial, which is the time to ask questions. But I feel like if I was in a classroom setting, I would have more live one-on-ones with the teacher. And that's it.
Great. Thank you so much, Nicholas. And we're going to stick with your school for one more person, and we're going to hear from Fiona.
Hi, my name is Fiona. I'm a junior at Washington Latin. So I had a bit of a unique experience with this. I was actually at a semester school in Wisconsin. I was supposed to be there for the entire spring semester. So I was supposed to be there from January to May, but we got sent home late March because of COVID-19. So I had to then, once I was back in DC, I had my semester school's classes online, and as well as I picked up a couple of classes from my sending school, so Latin. And so I kind of got a perspective from two different schools and how they handle distance learning. So one thing I really value was synchronous learning, just because one thing I felt like I was really missing was just, seeing, even though now virtually, just my peers, my teachers, and, I think it was just really nice seeing their faces. And it made me feel kind of less alone in all of this. But I mean, on that note, I think it is much harder with synchronous learning to get information across. So kind of tagging on to Zoe's point is that I do certainly feel like I'm definitely not as prepared for my APs as I would have liked to have been, and I feel like I'm learning much less information now than I would have if I was in school for 6 hours a day, especially because at least for Latin, we have about 3 to 4 hours of work each day. On that note, I think especially one thing I noticed this year, although my school has done a very good job addressing it, but just in terms of next year, in the fall, especially if, circumstances are the way they are now, the chances of going back to school are, a bit unlikely. So I think just making sure that kids who don't necessarily have the same sort of resources as everybody else are attended to, and especially if, to continue just making sure that, you can figure out just adjustments for people who might not have, the best situations where it's hard for them to focus in their house, or if Wi-Fi or computer is still an issue. I think that's something that really should be taken into careful consideration. Thank you.
Thanks, Fiona. That was a great report from DC. All right, we're going to go to New York now, to Queens, and we're going to hear from Anthony, who goes to Voice Charter School in Queens.
Hi, I'm Anthony Cardona. I'm in 8th grade and I'm from Voice Charter School. And virtual learning has definitely impacted my school, like my academics, because I in math I was advanced 2 years, so I was gonna do my geometry test this year, but I can't take it this year because like studying has been very hard for me. It's hard to like keep focus on all the new and harder things to do. So I've had to like fall back on that. So I'm gonna like reach out with my teachers next year for my high school to see like if I can get some extra help with that and like get a good grade on the geometry because I've fallen back. And also it's been hard because I usually like do extra credit and like get help from teachers whenever I need it. And if I need help now, it's gonna be way harder because I like one-on-one conversations instead of being in like a group. And those are the only like supports that they do. They only do group supports. So I don't really like doing those stuff because it's like uncomfortable for me if I'm with another person and I want help with one-on-one with the teacher. And yeah.
Great, thank you so much. Now we're going to stay in New York. We're going to go upstate a little bit, and we're going to hear from Lewis at New Roots Charter School.
Louis, I'm a senior at New Roots Charter School, and overall, I feel like distance learning has been going pretty good, mostly just because my teachers have been really understanding of what we've been going through, and they make it really flexible with when things are due, and if you need help, they are really open to having you call them via Zoom and get help. The only thing I've really been struggling with has been primarily getting like fatigued from just sitting for 3 hours a day every single day is kind of a hassle. And then just all the experiences I'm missing out on. Like I may not have an in-person graduation. I'm not gonna have prom, senior trip. It's like all the extracurriculars, and primarily I won't be able to see my friends right before we all go to college. So it's that's been really hard to deal with, and just me like with my family at my house instead of being with my friends and peers.
Thank you, Louie. I can't imagine. That must be really difficult. We're going to now go to Rhode Island, to Village Green Virtual Charter School. We're going to start with hearing, I think, from Olivia, but if you guys figured it out differently, go for it.
I don't have a pre-recorded video.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so the whole distance learning thing for my school, I think, has been not really a tough transition because my school, Village Green Virtual, it's in the name, it's a virtual school. We have this whole blended learning thing where we do all our schoolwork on computers anyways, so it's completely, it's basically like everything we did at school, we're now just doing in a home setting. The tough part really would honestly be staying motivated due to the nature of our school. Our teachers is basically, they would help us with whatever we needed, and we can still contact them at any time. They're basically online on Google Hangouts at any hour, and we can message them if we need help with something. But the hardest part for our school has been the lack of physical socialization, physical interaction. Basically what's made as the result of COVID-19 very hard for our community is basically just separating our community, and I feel like that's been the toughest part for most of the students and the faculty at our school. But overall, as for like my learning experience, personally, I don't think it's really changed. I mostly work independently, like most kids do at my school. So I think that's fine, but as for, socializing is an important part of our community, like, being a community. I just keep saying that, I'm so sorry, but it's true. that's honestly the hardest part. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Olivia. That's a really unique perspective from your school. So we're going to stick with it for a second. We're going to go to Stephen, who's also from Village Green Virtual.
Hi, my name is Steven. As you said, I go to Village Green. And like Olivia said, my learning experience has basically stayed the same because the program that we use is called Edgenuity, and it's basically for students who are homeschooled. And so the transition was pretty easy for me. And I'd say the rough part about this is the staying home all the time. And I usually help take care of my two other siblings, and I help them with a lot of stuff too. So I'm kind of like all over the place every day. But other than that, we usually stay pretty connected through Google Hangouts, and our teachers pretty much help us whenever we need help and stuff. And I get to talk to a lot of my friends a lot too, since they're always online. And that's about it.
Thanks, Stephen. We're going to stick with the school for a second more, and we're going to go hear from Nevaeh.
Hi. So I'm Nevaeh from Village Green Virtual, which is an Edgenuity school, as you know. And for me, it's difficult because I don't have my teachers there in front of us or in front of me to like actually help me in person, but they do their best to like FaceTime us and create Google Classrooms to talk to us when they think we need help or when we actually do need help. And they do their best to try to keep it normal with us by doing things we would normally do in school or like trying to do it. And they do their best to keep their expectations of us like normal so we wouldn't get like stressed out or anything. And I think that this is going okay. At first it was a little difficult to like adjust to it, but since like our teachers are trying to keep up with us, I think it's going better than what I thought it was going to be.
Thanks, Nevaeh. And the last person from your school.
Hi, my name's Elio Concepcion. I'm a sophomore at Village Green Virtual. So my whole experience with with distance learning, as everyone's previously stated, we're a virtual school, so I don't find it as difficult from the transition. But the lack of physical interaction with my teachers has been kind of tough for me to grasp difficult concepts. But I haven't found it all too difficult with every subject. And Ingenuity does a good job of making sure that it tells you when you're on track in a class or behind. So I always know where I'm supposed to be. And I think with with distance learning, it's helped me mentally because being in a school environment every day, while it does help with some things, mentally, I think just staying home and getting a break from everybody and doing everything, it's just helped me. My teachers do a good job of making sure that everybody's okay and we're on track. They make sure that we're always doing what we need to do. They've given us their personal numbers too, so if we ever need help with anything and they're not looking at their email, they can just look at their phone to make sure that we need everything that we have. Thank you.
Thanks, that's great. It's really nice that you have that connection to your teachers. All right, so I'm gonna shift gears a little bit and we're gonna switch to Andre from New Orleans, who's gonna speak for a moment, and then we're gonna show a video of some of the kids that she works with because they're not able to be live, but we have a video of them talking about COVID. And then after that, we'll move to a Q&A panel. So again, if anybody has any questions that you wanna ask this group of students, then please put it in the chat directly to me or just to everyone. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce Andre from New Orleans.
Hi, and first want to say thank you to all you kids who have shared information. It's been very eye-opening. So my name's Andre Ambler, and I'm a school social worker, and I work at a charter school by the name of Lycée Français de la Nouvelle-Orléans. I had to practice saying that several times, so it sounded like I knew what I was talking about. But as a social worker, I started feeling like it wasn't just enough for me to be online with kids or Google Classroom, I felt the need to go actually to their homes, well, their sidewalks, safe distance away, mask on, just to kind of see them in person and make sure that they could see me and knew that, you know, I was thinking about them and missing them. And so what you're about to see are videos of kinder, first, and second graders. Now, our school is not only boys, but my caseload is boys. So I just wanted to put that up front, that you're not going to see any girls, and I'm sorry. I didn't realize that until after I got all the videos together. So I hope you enjoy them. Thank you. Blaze, we're gonna start now. Okay, Blaze. Hi, Graham.
Hi.
I have some questions for you today.
Great.
Webster, how are you?
Good.
Good morning, Travell. Hi, Nash. How are you?
Good.
Good.
I think COVID is corona.
Corona what?
Virus.
Okay.
Well, I think COVID is a virus that kills people because it's just doing their own thing. Coronavirus is deadly.
Yes, it's deadly. Yes, it can be deadly. What is COVID? What is COVID?
Is that a trick question?
No, it's not a trick question.
I think that's like in 5th grade. I think that's I have no idea.
Okay, have you heard of coronavirus?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what COVID is.
Because of the COVID. Because of the fire going around.
Yeah. Has the virus affected you or your family?
Not really, because we just stay at home every time. Because of the coronavirus.
Okay. So will you explain a little bit how the virus has affected you?
Well, the virus hasn't affected me. It explains why I'm not sick.
Excellent.
Because COVID-19, aka coronavirus, is more dangerous than what happened to the city of New Orleans when what was it called again? I forgot. Hurricane Katrina happened.
Okay.
And it's like coronavirus takes place, and it's really bad because if you get infected by it, you could die. You don't get to wear the uniform.
Okay, is there anything else that you enjoy about being at home?
Being with Mama.
Yes, good one.
Like, I've been making like lots of graphs and stuff.
And what about your classwork?
Yeah, I kind of did a couple of stuff. Like this much stuff I did on Seesaw.
Seesaw. Okay, have you enjoyed that?
Yeah, but I did enjoy it a little bit when I discovered it. Also, we watched videos a lot, and also we also do meetings and classes on TV.
Sweet.
Good.
Okay, can you elaborate? Like, give me a...
Me sitting down all day, me doing stuff on my iPad.
Okay. Are you learning? Is it easier? Okay, stop right there. Is it easier?
It's easier with my mom.
Okay, great.
It hasn't been so good, but still, I get to teach others around me while the others teach me, and I teach the others, and it goes into a big chain of learning. Like it's called the learning chain. It's a big, it's a big school. It's a big school of everyone learning because it's so big.
And you said others. Who are these others that you're learning with?
Such as my two sisters, Evie and Posey, and mommy and daddy, and my bestest friends.
Excellent.
And I can teach them by having them over and video chatting them. Good, because we get less work than usual.
Okay.
Usually it's only like 3, 2, or 1 things, or
So you like it better, or how do you feel about learning at home?
Well, it does be work, but I do miss the pizza lunch.
But what do you miss about school?
The lunch.
Anything else?
Nope.
You sure?
Yeah.
Your friends?
And working.
And working. All right. What do you miss about school?
Nothing. I hate it.
You don't miss any friends from school?
Absolutely.
I miss recess and lunch.
And anyone else? Anything else?
My friend.
Okay. Do you do FaceTime with your friend?
Yeah, I
do. I've been having so much fun at home, I didn't have time to think about it.
Okay, so we'll think about it right now. Just, can you think of one thing maybe that you missed about school?
Maybe about going to the computer lab.
All right, say bye to everyone out there.
Bye.
Can you wave to everybody out there that's going to be watching you? And say hi from New Orleans.
Hi.
All right, thank you. How about just goodbye?
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. I'm Nash, and I'm from New Orleans.
And would you like to say goodbye to all the people that are going to be watching you?
Kind of.
Okay. You can just wave and say bye.
Bye.
That video, I've seen it a million times now, and it still really brings joy to my heart. Thank you so much for that, Andre and Edward, for putting it together. All right, so we're going to have one presentation from our board member, David Lockett, on social and emotional learning, and then we're going to turn it over to Emma Shea to facilitate the Q&A. Been getting some great questions, so keep them coming. David, go for it.
Hey, I'm David Lockett, a STEM teacher at Bach Academy in Central Florida, and I've heard some amazing, stories, some amazing, ways to improve, and some amazing ideas that I can, use in my classroom, and I can, disseminate this information to you. One aspect of learning that we've brought to our students is social emotional learning. I don't know if anyone's familiar with SEL, but with social and emotional learning, you're applying knowledge, attitudes, and different skills to understand all of the emotions that we're all going through right now, but we want to achieve positive results. We want to show empathy for others at the same time. We want to build on those relationships with each other. A lot of times when we're actually in school, we can do that. You're seeing each other, you're making good, responsible decisions. But with social emotional learning, you're looking at different problems. How can we work on those relationships in a virtual environment? How can we build a foundation, for managing, different ideas and ways to improve? I heard a lot of, good ideas from everyone. How can we demonstrate this? How can we change our instruction to, build positive relationships? With social emotional learning, you're building that attachment to new ways of learning, and in this case, it's virtual learning. And I see a question there in the chat. It says, we're teaching SQL students to our students weekly. I mean, that's good. You want to build on those positive interactions, and you want to, motivate students to learn. How many of us are motivated every day? From time to time, you might get a little down. You might want to do something different. But how can you, build yourself up? How can you ensure that you have that consistency on a daily basis? So, the program that you're working on, the assignment, you're developing, how can you make that of a critical importance? I see another one said that, their counselors integrating SEL as well. So, if, when you're going through your activities and you're thinking about day to day, remember the social and emotional learning aspect of that. You want those supportive relationships. You want to think beyond the classroom. So one thing I can leave you with, think about what you're doing beyond the classroom. Thank you, Violet.
Thanks, David. That was great and very important right now in light of what all these kids are saying. All right, Emma Shea, are you good to go to facilitate the Q&A?
I want to thank all of you for sharing, first of all. This is open to anyone who wants to answer. Just overall, what has worked well in terms of support or things that your teachers have done to make this whole transition easier? So if any students want to jump in on that, please go ahead.
Yeah, my teachers before, my math teacher actually, before the pandemic closed down schools, she asked us for our Google account, our Gmails, our personal Gmails, so that she could set up a Google Classroom. And then we moved to Teams.
And how has that helped you overall?
I'm pretty sure, it's a lot easier to learn, especially on Teams, because you can see what assignments you need to do and when they're due. And it's not arbitrary and it's not confusing like most times they are.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to jump in?
So something that my school has done is we have these weekly Instagram lives. Sorry?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So we have these weekly Instagram lives where some of the teachers go and they'll MC and they interview students and they give us weekly updates from the principal and other people, and they have lip sync battles and there's some fun elements to it too. But I think that's really nice, and a lot of people end up watching it. And they interview different students. I got interviewed last week. So I don't know, I feel it's a good way. It doesn't help me academically, but I feel it still keeps the school community together.
Thank you. Jumping off of that, do any other students have ideas of how schools can implement some sort of social interaction between students while we're staying in this virtual reality? Go for it.
At my school, every day or every other day, my ELA teacher currently, he has Google Hangouts video calls where he calls anyone who wants to join in my class. He just usually it's to check up on us and what have we done for work today, we have any questions, but then we just have a conversation, as friends, what have you been up to, did you guys read anything new, get a new video game? And that's been incredibly beneficial to a lot of the more isolated students in our school. So I definitely feel just community it's very important to me and my school. So thank you.
Okay, I heard a couple of you guys, Fiona and Anthony specifically, about how you're kind of struggling preparing for your finals. Do you want to share how that's been going, trying to stay on track?
Yeah, I can respond to this. So at least for me, we've had a couple of, it's actually different for the two different schools that I've been kind of following for the spring semester. But we've been trying to do the same exact work that we did during class, but I'd say that just because our class time is more limited, there's been less amount of work, and especially since the AP focuses on, trying to fit all the information in an entire year, we're just not getting, the review we need, and we just have to cut some stuff out. And I think also just not kind of having like the reassurance from the teachers or just like the class discussions in the class, you know, preparing for it together makes me feel a lot more worried.
Thank you. Anthony, did you want to add anything to it?
Yeah, I can just say like the one thing I've been doing is I've been reaching out to my math teacher and I've just been like asking him if I ever needed help on a specific thing, that he would help me on it. And then me and another student that also is doing the geometry, we would go into a Zoom call, us three, and we would just practice the problems together. And then if we needed help, we'd just stay there for longer. But if we understood, we could just leave, and we could like we did this a bunch of times now.
Thank you. And just a reminder for everybody else, this is completely open. So if you have any questions for our students, feel free to send them to Violet, to the general chat, or to me directly. And we'll be sure to ask our students. For our high schoolers, we were wondering if your school is planning anything virtual for prom or graduation that maybe you can look forward to.
I can speak on this one. So at my school, every year we have a valediction ceremony at the end of the year for every grade level, and that's going to be transitioning to being Zoom. So we're still having that, which I'm really grateful for. I'm definitely looking forward to that. However, our prom was canceled. And for graduation, I think it's going to be something similar to that. I think they're considering doing some sort of socially distanced ceremony of some sort, but I'm not sure if they've found a way to make that possible to implement. So I think for now, they're definitely trying to transition things onto Zoom to make them more like make them still be able to occur for students.
Thank you. Does anybody else?
My school actually was trying to make a virtual prom, and they did a test run of it to see if the idea worked. And there was like 2 people who actually joined the meeting, so it's really like small and kind of depressing because there was just no one there. So I think in theory it could be cool, but it might take some more work before it's actually a feasible idea.
So we have a question. Several students said they didn't think they would be willing to return to long school days. What would any of you suggest for when school resumes?
Next year, I would recommend that if the pandemic is still ongoing, that next year schools try to integrate more online classes. Like they try to better the system or the way that they are like passing them out, and to give teachers more resources and more methods, ways of communicating with students so that they can teach classes better online.
I think that schools, like, I don't think it makes sense to have to go to school for like 7 or 8 hours a day, especially if you're like not even in class the whole time. So I think that like something that has worked well for me in the past is having like projects to work on. And so like my school has kind of been project-based learning. So like the majority of my grade is based on like a thing or something that I produce. And so I can be working on that in and outside of school. You know, I don't have to just be like sitting and being lectured at, because I think that that's a waste of my time most of the time. So like, and I think in order for schools to value my time, I'd like to feel that I'm doing something useful and productive and allowed to take the time that I need to take on it. And then if that doesn't take up the entire school day, I'm done. And I shouldn't have to sit there and do any kind of like busy work or anything, because I think when you think about it, a lot of work that we do in school is just busy work.
I think that for me, actually, I think that like having like the 7 or 8 day, and I'm sorry, excuse me, the 7 or 8 hour kind of school day, I think a lot of other things that are valuable, you know, in a school just besides kind of what you learn. You know, I think it's, as we've, you know, noticed now that we're in quarantine, I think it's the social interactions really valuable. I think it's, I mean, like free lunches that schools provide. And, you know, I think having and seeing teachers as mentors. So I think it's pretty valuable that, you know, we are in school, you know, through the day, you know, just because of, I think that I think especially now I'm realizing appreciating just how much school can give me, just besides, you know, what what the textbook gives me or what teachers are telling, or what teachers are teaching me. I think there's just so much more to that, which I think is why I think it's really valuable to have.
Thank you. Anybody else? We had another question about how school mental health providers, so your counselors, your social work, if they can do anything to help you a bit more during this time. And again, anybody can just jump in.
So for my school, our guidance counselor, she actually has joined a couple of our meetings and a couple of our chats, and basically just told us whenever we need her to just let her know, text her. She's given us her number and everything, and so if we ever need anyone to talk to, she's always there.
All right, well, if we don't have any more questions, I think that we can just call it. But thank you guys all so very much. Oh, wait, we got another one. Ooh, that's interesting. I'm gonna go for it.
So from Pedro, do you think that schools will change how they pass schoolwork?
I'm not sure if I'm answering the question or not, but I know that we are currently planning on what it's going to look like when we come back to school, because we still aren't sure when that might be and what it even is going to look like. If we're going to have half day for one set of kids and half day for the other set until things get more less scary, if you will. So yeah, I mean, I know our community's talking about it, and I'm pretty sure that your school communities are on top of it as well. It's just really a really big kind of question mark right now. But I do want to say that we are also taking into consideration the mental health of our students, and we are talking about what school is not going to look like the first 2 weeks we come back. You know what I mean? It's not going to be, thrusting information down your throats, because we need to make sure everyone's okay. That's kind of the bottom line. But I don't know if that helped, but I think that's kind of, what we're doing. Thanks. Yeah, I don't take credit for the video. I credit Edward for splicing it together, and I credit my really amazing kids for they were put on the spot. They were not given the questions ahead of time, so they really made me proud. But thank you. I appreciate y'all letting me share with y'all.
Any suggestions about the use of different online platforms, or just one, or overwhelmed with a lot? So if any students have, yeah.
They're like, for Flipgrid, I mean, we don't really get too many, but sometimes we do. And when we do get them, like, when I wake up, I don't look the best, but when I wake up, I want to get my work done. So when I like go into like my Spanish class and then I see I have a Flipgrid to do, I like wake up, I'm like, I want to get this done, but I don't feel like, getting up, having to grab everything, get in the shower, and then, prep myself just for a Flipgrid. So, but then I'm like, well, now everybody's going to see, like, my bed head or, my, like, morning face. But it's like, I mean, that's just, like, a personal issue with it, I guess. But honestly, I mean, Flipgrids aren't that bad, especially if it's, like, if it's only, like, 3 or something, then, like, it's not, anything crazy, but like sometimes I do like wish it was just like no Flipgrid at all, because I just don't like to be like on camera or anything having to talk, and then like I'll try to memorize stuff so I can say it in the Flipgrid, but I always have to like end up writing it down and like look at the paper while I'm recording myself, and I just feel awkward doing that. But other than that, like that's my only opinion on it.
Yeah, I feel like right now there's a lot of sites that you have to go to for different assignments, and it feels kind of not overwhelming but confusing, because after you're done with one assignment you have to ask yourself, okay, now what do I have to go to do Spanish, now what do I have to go to do history, and it gets kind of puzzling and it really stacks up.
Thank you. Is there any other questions from our audience?
I can just really quickly take Lindsay's question about summer school being online or virtual. I think it probably depends on where your school is, but based on most of the school leaders I've been talking to, anything in the next few months would probably still be virtual if we're adhering to social distancing guidelines.
It seems like we don't have any more questions, so I'll turn it back to you, Violet.
Thanks, Emashe. Well, thank you guys all so much for coming. That was actually the highlight of the whole week. It was really great to hear from all of the students and some really thoughtful questions from the attendees. So we're going to send out on Monday an email thanking you guys for coming, and we'll attach those SEL resources that David was speaking about. And if you guys want us to send anything else along, we'll send the link to this video along with that. And just another reminder to join us as a member. I'll send an email about that too, so you can keep coming to all these meetings. And we will see you in a few weeks. I think our next meeting we have scheduled, we're going to be talking about the future of schooling, whatever that looks like. So thank you guys all. Thank you so much for doing this. I hope that you got a lot out of it, and thank you.